Last question today. Hey, David, why are Americans more religious than Europeans? Two main pillars of reasoning that I believe explain why Americans today are more religious than Europeans. First of all, some of the early settlers of the United States of America came to the United States of America and left the countries of their origin, in many cases in the UK, but also people from the Netherlands, Germans, and others. They came here because they wanted the freedom to practice their religion unfettered by the religious de facto status quos of their countries in Europe. So by definition, when you have a country that starts with the idea of being able to practice religion unfettered, that may lead to a more religious population. Now, of course, it's been many hundreds of years. So then the sort of secondary question would be, why has the United States not become less religious at the same speed that Europe has? Well, I would argue that Europe has become less religious in some places, but not in others. There are still parts of Europe and communities in Europe that are still quite religious. The difference is that Europe has drawn a much harder line when it comes to separation of church and state, secularism, the idea that religion simply has no place in the sort of government and public sphere. In the United States, you have even today a significant portion of Republicans in the House and Senate who are, quote, Christians. Some of them are Catholics, some of them are evangelicals, Baptists, all sorts of different sects, who kind of believe in separation of church and state, but they still talk about the morality they get from the Bible in terms of their opposition to abortion or their opposition to LGBT rights or whatever the case may be. So the lack of a firewall between church and state in the United States has fostered the country remaining more religious than lots of countries in Europe have.
You talked about some of the historical reasoning.
Yeah.
I think it also has to do with the new frontier, you know, that America has experienced over the past 200 years or so. Like there were even people who would leave Massachusetts and like the Pilgrim Colony because they wanted to start religious movements of their own, like Roger Williams in Rhode Island, or even more recently, Mormons in Utah.
I think you're right. And in the background, we can't ignore that scientific and mathematical proficiency is inversely correlated with religiosity, okay? And if you've been following the education crisis that the United States is facing, you would know that we are being rapidly overtaken by many other countries in math and science. If the United States was doing better in math and science, and everybody had a more thorough understanding of not only math and science, but critical thinking and philosophy from an early age, you would probably see religious belief decay more quickly than we're seeing it decay.